What happens when you mix modern Western with science fiction? Well, you get the new Amazon Prime series, Outer Range. It's mysterious and quiet, but is it any good? A rancher fighting for his land and family stumbles upon an unfathomable mystery at the edge of Wyoming's wilderness, forcing a cosmic and intimate confrontation with the unknown. Josh Brolin and Imogen Poots star in this series, and in some ways, it mildly reminds me of another Amazon sci-fi series, Tales from the Loop. Now, I think it's mostly due to the quiet and bizarre feeling I get from both of those shows. This series is very mysterious as we follow Josh Brolin as a rancher in Wyoming. He and his family own just a crap ton of acreage, but there's also a partial land dispute between a neighboring ranch. While it could be easier for Brolin to just concede to the dispute and give over the acreage, a very mysterious sinkhole type of thing is on that portion of the land, and there's no way he's going to give it up, especially because he has zero clue as to what it is. Imogen Poots plays a wandering poet who asks to camp on the land for a bit, but her behaviors really do raise a bunch of questions as to what her real motives are. She's inquisitive, but also asking questions that lead us to believe she may not be who or what she says she is. Now, like any modern Western, this is slower and it's quieter in its presentation. There are long stretches where we just watch Brolin riding along on his horse on the land, or he'll be looking off into the distance, maybe examining the terrain through binoculars. And when he experiences some oddities, he's not outspoken about them. I mean, he keeps it all very close to the vest, not even letting his family know of his discovery. Now, there's a good amount of tension that arises between the two arguing ranches, but the antagonism isn't entirely explained within the two premiere episodes. The families don't get along, but in certain sequences, it is hilarious to watch the adult children of the other ranch be scolded by Josh Brolin's wife, who's played by Lily Taylor. She's no nonsense, but she's not mean. She's just direct and doesn't put up with crap, and she made me laugh at just how she handles issues. We also get to meet the patriarch of the other ranch, who's played by Will Patton, and his raspy voice is absolutely perfect for the role. I mean, he and Brolin have this great antagonistic chemistry, even though they're not on screen together for very long. That'd be one thing to just have the mystery playing out in the middle of the pasture, but there are also actions that certain characters make that cause a whole firestorm of ramifications and drama. And while the scene is tense, what follows is filled with anxiety and urgency, and then leads to another crazy sequence that just made my jaw drop open. Now, I've only watched the first 2 episodes out of the 8 total, and I'm not really sure where it's headed. I mean, at the end of the second episode, it has doubled down on the sci-fi aspect, but it hasn't gotten ridiculous. The story is very engaging, and I love how in the dark I actually am. There are all kinds of elements that are introduced that can build out a very compelling dramatic mystery. The scenery is amazing, and that cinematography is just absolutely beautiful as it captures the vast spaciousness of the land. And I love how there will just be large portions of green and flat pasture, but then there'll be this mountain jutting out from nowhere. I mean, it's stunning to view, and I'd love to live there, as the camera just really makes the ominous terrain look inviting and peaceful. The pacing within these first 2 episodes is patient, but it's deliberate. I mean, it is a little slower, but that's exactly what I expected from a modern Western. But even with a slower pace, the tension is still building, and there's a small sense of dread or maybe foreboding that is increasing simply because of that unknown that's looming in this story. The first episode is almost an hour long, but then the second one is closer to 40 minutes. So together, we get a feature-length story, and the narrative makes good use of that time. And time is one of the themes that's also explored in this. There are characters that have to make decisions based on the amount of time that has passed from an event, and others are aware of things that are on the way, but they're unaware of the actual timing. Family loyalty is also a big theme within this, and we see it play out in both Josh Brolin's family as well as in the neighboring ranch family. Now, in small ways, some of the interactions remind me of gangsters, where just desire and greed take precedence over what's right, but also familial pride helps to influence a ton of actions and motives. I'm curious about how this show is going to be received. I mean, it's an odd mix to combine modern Western with sci-fi, but then have the sci-fi portion be the massive minority in the story. When I talk about the mixture, I don't want to just conjure up images of Firefly or maybe The Mandalorian. I mean, think more of Yellowstone with a twist. So overall, the first 2 episodes of Amazon's Outer Range are a mysterious and intriguing take on the modern Western. While some characters are fairly shallow, others are very complex, creating an air of doubt as to their true motives. The sci-fi portion of this show has only scratched the surface to what it means, but that's okay, meaning more curiosity still exists for the series to satisfy in future episodes. The acting is wonderfully subdued, making the characters ominous and then enigmatic. And all of this is wrapped in a beautifully shot package with cinematography that captures the natural beauty of the landscape. Now, while I have zero clue where this is going, I'm fully on board for the ride, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 episodes that drop in a week. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and some violence. I give episodes 1 and 2 of Outer Range 4 out of 5 couches. So, are there any modern westerns that you enjoy? I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.